الو سلام علیکم.
سلام.
حال شما چطوره؟ حال شما خوبه؟ متشکر، ممنون. امروز ایمیل تایید پروژه دریافت شد در واقع. آره. خب به سلامتی تبریک میگم.
This project of building capacity of Iranian CSO, that was something ideal for women's society because we started all activities by teaching, promoting environmental culture of the society. When we came to this agreement with another side, Legambia, we were so happy about that because we could continue our task, our goals for 2 more years. And we could cover these activities. We need to exchange information and get the idea. You know, our native situation, of course, is different from Italy, but we need experience from Europe and for other countries to join and to actually to do and proceed this project.
My experience in this field was as a journalist when I was start to put the environment in my concern. I found out all my colleagues were shocked because they think I know their mentality. I know what they think. They think as long as there are politics, economics, social problem, so why environment? Why environment? Because they look at this, at the environment like not necessary and luxury topics. The thing that they need, I think, it's they have to be trained, and they have to be aware of the importance of the problems in environment.
Noi non possiamo concepire un impegno per gli ecosistemi che sia disgiunto dall'attenzione solidale all'essere umano. Questa è la nostra caratteristica più marcata, più identitaria. Il motto con cui è nata Legambiente nel 1980 diceva: pensare globalmente, agire localmente. Oggi, nel XXI secolo, vale anche il contrario: agire localmente e pensare anche localmente. Cioè si possono anche invertire i termini del problema, si può pensare anche a livello locale e agire globalmente, per esempio con decisioni che ci aspetteremmo, uso il condizionale, dai grandi decisori. Parigi, per esempio, l'accordo di Parigi era solo un piccolo passo molto timido. È chiaro che la situazione in America, con un presidente degli Stati Uniti d'America che nega addirittura quelle poche cose timide che erano state decise nel dicembre 2015 a Parigi, fa non un passo indietro, fa una retromarcia nella storia, e sarà la sua industria in America che lo sconfesserà, perché la storia ha già preso una direzione, che è quella dell'efficientamento energetico, che è quella delle rinnovabili, e il mondo va in quella direzione, ma perché non ha scelta, semplicemente se vuole sopravvivere. Quindi questa dimensione di tenere insieme il globale, lo chiamo io, cioè il livello planetario globale con la dimensione locale, è parte essenziale dell'identità di Legambiente. Siamo nati così e quindi ci viene facile fare questo cortocircuito tra dimensione planetaria e quello che poi realmente noi possiamo pensare e agire sul territorio.
Io penso che l'ordine si possa creare conoscendo prima di tutto il fenomeno, conoscendo le origini di questo fenomeno, che non è un fenomeno che si può fermare, né che noi in realtà vogliamo fermare, anzi noi vogliamo prendere tutto ciò che c'è di buono, che è tanto, da queste persone che vengono da paesi, culture, religioni, usanze completamente diverse dalle nostre, e creare una vera e propria contaminazione di loro con noi e di noi con loro, ovviamente con alla base sempre il rispetto reciproco.
Abbiamo 3 categorie fondamentalmente di persone che parteciperanno ai corsi. Uno sono le ONG iraniane, in particolare, ma non esclusivamente quelle che si occupano in qualche modo dell'ambiente, per imparare a comunicare meglio, ai vari livelli di comunicazione, e imparare a interagire meglio con i media. Poi abbiamo i media per imparare a interagire meglio con le ONG e a parlare meglio di ambiente, e imparare utilizzando queste piattaforme del corso anche per fare questa coalizione di collegamento ONG, media per una migliore comunicazione ambientale. Poi ci sono le autorità pubbliche, soprattutto quelle di livello regionale e provinciale, i quali hanno avuto vari input generali di politica, di date più spazio all'ambiente, date più spazio al dialogo, date più spazio alle politiche partecipate con le ONG, però naturalmente non si capisce ancora bene questo che cosa significa. Siamo ancora in uno stato, siamo in una fase nuova, le ONG sono piccole circoli di amici volenterosi nella maggior parte dei casi, quindi come ci si conosce, che tipo di lavoro si fa, che tipo di vero spazio politico viene, è tutto ancora un pochino strano qui, e quindi manca ancora questo tipo di esperienza. Il progetto politicamente è potenzialmente importante perché, come dicevo, intanto è un progetto dell'Unione Europea e l'Unione Europea non ha ancora aperto la sua sede qui. Con quali ONG mettersi in contatto? Allora, naturalmente quelle più facili, quelle più carine, erano quelle un po' più aperte, un po' più moderniste, però in un'operazione di apripista, no? Potevano anche essere facilmente viste come i rivali politici su cui... Allora siamo andati con questa associazione, anche per un altro motivo, questa associazione che Donne per l'Ambiente, che in Iran hanno sempre avuto una visibilità molto particolare per questo collegamento Donne per l'Ambiente, e per cui la fondatrice, che adesso ha 90 anni, è stata un'eroe classica, è nata dai tempi, è una delle poche figure di impegno politico-culturale che c'era già ai tempi dello Shah e non è stata toccata dalla rivoluzione, proprio perché c'è questo suo carisma particolare, perché è donna, perché è un po' così, una specie di grande madre, no? Allora, con il suo gruppo di giovani, che adesso sono settantenni, quindi, che però hanno questa tradizione forte, diciamo, sia nel rapporto, quindi ci permettevano intanto di recuperare il discorso femminile, che sennò è molto difficile da fare in Iran, perché questo è specifico Donne per l'Ambiente, e poi, diciamo, è un intoccabile questa grande figura matriarcale dell'ambiente, e quindi ci dava una protezione ideologico-culturale più grossa di quella che non ci davano le ONG magari più attive, più militanti, però più esposte dal punto di vista. Abbiamo preparato questo tipo di schema e abbiamo cominciato a cercare le controparti italiane. Abbiamo trovato, uno che ci serviva era un supporto tecnologico per la formazione a distanza, perché volevamo che il tipo di cose che si facessero qua fossero replicabili. L'avventura adesso è farlo diventare un vero motore politico-culturale, quindi fare le cose che vanno fatte dal punto di vista formale della situazione progettuale, e quello, a parte le difficoltà organizzative, le difficoltà amministrative, è relativamente facile, perché è un po' come fare i progetti in Afghanistan, sono paesi così difficili, no? Che quello che fai già vale tanto, no? Però si possono fare le cose tanto per fare, tanto per dire ok, corso, caso. Quello che invece è da qui in poi, cioè, è quello di dire ok, che tipo di coordinamento trasversale, che tipo di relazioni mediatiche, che tipo di piattaforme ampliate si possono fare, si possono attivare intorno, insieme a questo progetto, per andare a toccare gli aspetti fondamentali. Gli aspetti fondamentali sono questi, cioè allora ambiente come piattaforma di cooperazione internazionale, le ONG come reciproci stimoli di dialogo e partecipazione politica, ecco, il rapporto tra clima di comunicazione e lavoro per contrastare i cambiamenti climatici, il messaggio mediatico che viene da questi paesi e che è recepibile dai nostri paesi, in modo tale che entrambi i paesi possano incominciare a comunicare al di fuori degli stereotipi, utilizzare l'ambiente come percorso prioritario per uscire da questo tipo di stereotipi dell'immagine dell'altro solo come nemico e come diverso e come pericoloso. Questi sono gli assi, le asse potenzialmente più importanti su cui questo progetto dà l'occasione di lavorare, però bisogna saper cogliere l'occasione. To improve the cooperation and to improve the health of a communication environment is exactly the same thing, because the health determinant of a communication environment is the capacity of cooperating. Now, we see that nations do cooperate. They have trade, they have commerce, they have industries, they move, they exchange ideas, they exchange visions, they exchange goods, they exchange money. But at political level, often we find good credit within our community by portraying the others as enemies. In order to get the votes from my community, I portray as the other communities are my enemies. Now this may give us a fast electoral return, because I show myself as the protector of my community against the enemy communities, and so people give me the vote. But this is very bad in the concept of working together for the common home, because of course common home is not the home of our nation. The common home is the whole world. We have no barrier for water, we have no barrier for pollutants, we have no barrier for the effects of the unhealthy natural environment. So only if we work together in cooperation for the health of the common home, then we're able to look after the common whole. So we need to reduce the level of conflict between the nations. So we need to explain to our electoral base that the others sometimes may be competitor, like in the case of the pocket, like in the case of many games, the zeros. Sometimes the others are someone with whom we play a zero-sum game. Yes. So if I export more or export less, if I'm more rich or less rich, or if I pollute more or pollute less, we have a zero-sum game. But overall, we have a common home. So we need also to cooperate. Like I was telling you the examples of a couple. Okay, let's fight who washes the dishes. But also, it's okay, it's our zero-sum game. We are competitor on it. But let's cooperate on how nice is our home and how enjoyable is our dinner together. We need to have both. So we need to know that it's more important to cooperate than to compete. That competition makes sense only within a cooperation, and competition should never become conflict. So the international cooperation is exactly doing that. Is teaching how to cooperate, and especially by cooperation, by working together, we learn about each other, because we see them as the others as enemies. We don't appreciate the differences, but we don't know about them. And really, we will never know about the others until we work together, until we cooperate together, because really the only possibility to learn about the others is working together. I will never understand a different culture by reading a book on culture, especially I will never understand the other culture by reading journalist news about the others, because the journalists try to win the public, and winning the public is very often played with the fears of the others. So I will not learn because newspapers want to be read And in order to be read, the best way to do is to have people scared. And so people read, and then they will read the news, which are supposed to make them scared. By working together, we learn about the others. By working together about caring of our home, really we know what the others are, because we really know that that's also they feel the world as our common home, as we feel it. Then we know the value of the differences. And we know that the different cultures are different ways of articulating the same human element, the same human values. In different languages, in different modalities, in different rituals, but everybody wants to express basically their humanity and their joy to live in this world and take care of our common home. This we'll never know it if we don't work together, because we have our own stereotype, our own approaches. We would like the others to have our own approaches, and we really know the value of differences only when we work together. That is true in a small community, in a teamwork, whereas, as I was telling you, the health of communication climate is very much defined by appreciating the differences. And the bad communication climate is when somebody wants to impose their opinion on everybody else. And international cooperation teaches how to appreciate the differences and how to use these differences to work together.
How do you think managing a team or a project compares with leading a hiking group?
That's an interesting question, because just like when you lead a hiking group, you need some kind of a feeling between the people who are hiking, Like you have one objective. Yeah, your objective is to together climb the mountain or together complete a journey.
Exactly.
So implementing a project is something similar. You, as a team, you come to a common objective, and then you take the journey together to complete this objective. But then on the way, of course, you have people wanting to do different things, or someone who wants to stop for tea earlier, or another person who wants to do something else. So you have to kind of motivate the people and take them together. A lot of the accomplishment or going on this journey together is a lot of support required amongst each other, And there are many instances, for instance, in project management where donors or partners haven't supported, especially lead partners who have the role like a hike leader or a tour leader, group leader, to kind of take the person's hand and move him along or her along if there is a path that is difficult. Because sometimes you may have older people who find it difficult to walk the steps, so you usually together hold hands and move that person. Sometimes in project management, which probably doesn't happen so much in hiking, is that people take advantage of the other's ignorance and take it to benefit your selfish interest. So sometimes organizations, for instance, don't support the partners to show that it's not working and that they need to take a bigger role, because that becomes an excuse to take more funds and give less to the ones who are implementing. But that really backfires, because then the journey not only becomes difficult, but you don't reach the objective of the journey, which is a journey that you decided together. So what happens is that donors don't come into contact with the national organizations, even local authorities, not just, let's say, civil society, which is responsible for the actual implementation, and the recipient organization in the developed countries becomes the interlocutor with the donors. And since they are the ones financially accountable, finally the donors, even the European Commission, for instance, talks directly with them and doesn't want to talk to those who are not legally responsible to them or accountable to them. I think there's a mistake, because many times the local organizations know a lot more, first of all, about the context. They can bring out problems that recipient organizations, international organizations, or those in developed countries don't bring out, because they fear for their relationship with the donor, like the European Commission, to become worse or to be affected, and they don't want problems to come out. Or even if there are problems coming out, they show them as problems that they've solved. And so when partners want to directly contact the European Commission, it becomes very difficult. But I think it's not right, because the European Commission's monitoring system is very weak. They don't, for instance, first of all, allow organizations in developing countries to directly deal with them, but they also don't go and monitor and talk to them in the place where the implementation is happening. And that gap is, it affects the impact of projects that they do. So all the money that is given to these organizations to implement projects, let's say in Iran or in Iraq or in Afghanistan, doesn't get monitored so well, especially because partners, if they have any problems, the only one they can talk to is their own donor organization and not the ones that really gave the funds. So they don't have any direct contact, and that doesn't empower the local organizations. And it allows a lot of, how would I say, politically incorrect behavior to happen from the part of the recipient organizations in developed countries, which then become the bosses somehow, and then they behave the way they want to behave, and there's no one that you can actually report to, because the only one you can report to is the one bossing you. So in an organization, like any company or anything you manage, you need to be able to have what we call in NGOs an incident reporting mechanism to an anonymous email ID to complain about how you are managed. You have this kind of systems. Like if my boss is not treating me well, and despite my trying to tell my boss this is not fair, I don't know, for instance, my salaries are not being paid on time, or I'm not, as a partner or as an employee, getting the sufficient motivation to work, then, and there's injustice being done that my boss is doing against me, I can go through an anonymous system to report that incident to a higher authority. The European Commission doesn't allow that, and that's a very, very big problem, because I don't know if you know of any kind of project like this, but if you don't get support on time and you're asked to produce the same deliverables with the same quality, you can't do it. So it makes it impossible for you to work, and then you're asked to do the impossible. So for instance, they don't give money on time. I know many organizations who do this, who keep the power with them through keeping the money with them. But then they are detrimental to the very implementation of the project that doesn't happen well. And then the European Commission, on top of that, the financial auditing system of the European Commission looks more into, are the bills there? Right. Did you spend what you said you spent? They don't, and even when they have logical frameworks with indicators and all, they don't look into the quality. So for instance, I know of projects in which trainings have happened that have had absolutely no impact. But the donors are not looking at that, they're looking at the numbers you've trained.
The fact of the spending.
Yeah, and how many people you've trained. They don't see, those people who were they trained well enough to train others? They don't care. At that level, that the budget doesn't make any difference, because that's your own commitment to give quality training and the trainees' commitment to train others.
One of the challenges, I think, with projects that are done by proposal and somebody conceptualizes the project and wants to communicate that to others, is, I think, the very fact of communication. The question is, how do you articulate and verbalize that vision that you have in your mind in terms of the outcomes that you hope to achieve by the end of projects? For instance, in our projects, of course, you had written the proposal, very extensive activity definitions and descriptions for each activity, and yet we had a few different understandings of what was meant by each activity from the same description.
When I explain a project, what I try to explain is that something is the project written that has been approved. Something is the project which is being done. The things should match, but they're not the same. It's something like, for instance, if I'm writing a book and then you make a film out of it. Well, but you are another author. You're not just implementing the book. You're not just working out the book. You're not just putting the images on a book. Film is a different product from the book. So it is a different author. It's a context. You take inspiration. You work, if the story is in that country, the story in that country. If the objective of the adventure is that. But as an art production is a different one. So it is if the team which works just want to receive instruction, what we're expected to do, what we're not expected to do, it never works. Because the actual work is the result of the teamwork. Not just, which is not implementing, which is recreating, because actions is creation. So the capacity to communicate to a group what should be done depends a lot about the creativity of the group ready to reinterpret it. Objectives are the same but have to be reinterpreted. That's why, for instance, in the project we do a lot of need assessment, a constant monitoring, and constant reassessment, because the project needs constantly to be reprojected, to be rewritten, to be rethought, no longer by the author who started it, but by the entire team. Either you do it formally, you sit down and rethink, or somehow you do it informally maybe by not doing exactly what it was written in the project, which is in a way is a way of rewriting it, not formally, but is so you're right. Communication is absolutely essential. Sometimes it's misunderstood communication as there is one communicator and one listener, and the communicator should be the one either who wrote the project or who's in command of the project. But creativity should be at all levels. The same creativity which is there to the one who started the project, who thought of the project, should be transferred down. So the work of the project manager, who has, let's say, in these cases of the author of the project, he or she have to do a lot of work to transfer the same creativity spirit. Then really the spirit is understood. Then the shape is reshaped, refashioned.
I find it very interesting when you say you want the text to be recreated or reinterpreted. I find that an interesting interpretation. You want that, and yet you want that within certain parameters, right?
Yes. That's always happened in art creation. You have limits. First limit is budget. Okay, you have the budget limit. So you have to be within the budget, which is perhaps is also the most difficult limit. Because creativity is fantasy. Fantasy is wanting to do this, that, and that also, and budget is limited. Second limit is time. You have to do in that time. So you cannot do all what you want to do. You have to do your best in that time. And third limit is the capacity of the people. Now, the capacity of the people is something easier to work upon. You cannot really expand time. You cannot expand the budget. Sometimes you can get additional funds, additional synergy, but it's but what really you never take for fixed is the capacity of people, because capacity of people depends a lot about the communication climate within the team. If there is good communication, people will discover that they are much more capable of what they thought themselves of being capable. If there is no good communication climate, sometimes people pretend not to understand, or sometimes they really don't know how to contribute. They really feel some sort of impotence. which doesn't depend on the personal capacity, it becomes on the capacity of the team. So the more the communication climate is healthy, the more there is trust, then the more there is reciprocal empowerment, there is reciprocal learning, and so the capacity of the team becomes much, much higher if it is a healthy communication climate, or much, much lower if it is an unhealthy communication climate. And that capacity and that creativity is something which really expands the possibility of the project.
I think in that the donors, including the European Commission and any other donor, are quite generous, because one thing is the proposal that you have to write in the kind of language that is understood by evaluators of proposals, and it has to follow a certain logical framework or logical model, and you cannot explain everything about how you'll do it because it's something that you're proposing. So you may find hurdles on the way and you don't know what. Supposing the security situation changes, supposing suddenly you have more space to do more things, suddenly the local authority comes in and says, let us also do this. You don't know, many other variables are there. So usually you write the framework of the project, and then within the framework, actually you have a lot of space to, depending on the team and the creativity of the team and the communication kind of platform you have or the space you have and the solidarity with which we work together as partners and teams, you can interpret the project in a different way, because you know the reality much more. And when you write the proposal, you don't have all those informations in hand. And so the donors actually allow you space, and then you can go and tell them, because of this, we're going to be implementing the project in this way. And they are quite open to it.
The question is like this. Some of the things of European Union are extremely good. There are some basic points which are extremely good, which very visionary, very creative. One is this, about allow the creativity of the partners. But before that is the concept of partnership. So European Union doesn't say, I'm giving the money, so I'm in command. No. We say, European Union says that we want to do projects in this area, but we have a limited staff. So we want to do with others who also want to do projects in this area. So we want to be partners of others. We don't want to be managers of implementers. So you present a project in line with what their program. Once they approve, it's their project and our project at the same time. We are partners. They give more financial contribution and we give more worker contribution, more effort. And we also give some resources on our side. This concept of partnership is very strong. Now, partnership built on mutual trust means to allow the others to replan, to rethink, of course within the overall agreement that you set it, within the general framework that you set it. But as they trust our partnership, they give us the option to rewrite the project, to rethink, provided we explain. It's public money, it's not private money, it's taxpayers' money, and especially it's money meant to achieve the beneficiaries, which often are the most vulnerable people, like the people who need that kind of work. The project is not for the workers. The project is for the beneficiary of the workers, but are managed by the workers. So there should be that kind of trust, and constantly need assessment. So like in the training program, one should constantly say, this is what I'm thinking to teach you, is what you need, and constantly reschedule and rechange, not once for all, but in the process, even in a daily process. Is it working? Am I teaching you what you expected to learn from me? Because I am at your service.
Yeah.
Now, in order to do that, there are some basic principles that are put in place in the good practices of this international cooperation. One is what we call the participatory process. I mean, decisions are not top-down. There is not someone on the side and the others to implement. Like there is no, like European Union doesn't want to do that. Doesn't want its leading organization to do that. Doesn't want It's a general manager to do that. Management is enabling people to feel that they can choose and they can participate in project planning, in project monitoring, in project evaluation. So there is a lot of work to be done at the managerial level in order to listen and to learn. This process of participation is a contractual obligation. So one organization which doesn't do participatory approach while implementing the project is conflicting with the contractual obligation that that organization is taking at European level. Because the same methodology that European Union gives to the partners, to the leading partner, it wants that the same methodology is applied from the leading partner to the other partners. So these are the steps that are required in order to, these are the principles. Another essential point is that decisions have to be done on the ground by the people who are living the project. They cannot be done by desk officers somewhere sitting in a room in front of a computer just simply because they manage the budget, they think they know it best. How do they know it best? They must constantly ask, they must constantly receive information. What do you need? What kind of support you need? Because you are there on the ground. We are now here in Iran. We know what is happening. We have to get the permissions. We have to get the feedback from the people that requires our service. So unless we are able to recreate the project on the ground as things happen, then we are not able to achieve our objectives. And our objectives are the objectives of the project. So this delegation of making the choices, of giving authority of making the choices by those who are on the ground is an essential element of the standard procedures of international cooperation. What unfortunately happens sometimes is that those faraway desk officers who have administrative obligations, who will be asked to spend money for certain chapters and not for certain other chapters, they tend to be more protective of their role rather than interested in achieving the objectives. So they tend, for instance, of over bureaucracy of the procedures. So you are on the ground, you are teaching, you are learning, you get the feedback, you need the money for continuing the work, and they take a lot of bureaucracy to do it because they tend to protect more the position and enabling the people to do the work. Of course they should protect their position. Of course they have administrative responsibility. But they should remember that administrative responsibility is not only not to spend money in the wrong way, but also how to spend money in the right way. You cannot just take one side of the coin, both the sides of the coin. As we manager, sometimes if that is left everything to us and there is no someone on the administrator to check, we may just be enthusiastic and want to help and spending, and then going outside of the budget chapters and budget procedures. So it's good there is someone who checks that we follow the path with creativity, but the path. We don't go somewhere else because they are the creators. The way we implement it should be creative, but what we implement, not. That's the framework, that's the limit. But to keep someone in line doesn't mean to force someone and tie it so closely that cannot express their creativity. So one of the main challenges of the project management is to balance properly the correct administration, that all the bills should be in place and money should be spent in the right time for the right purpose with transparent contract procedures, a necessary requirement, and to spend the money for the activity that has to be done in order to enable the worker to achieve the project objectives with tranquility, with dignity, with good motivation. That is as much as important. The two things are sometimes may seem conflicting, but that kind of conflict that is like a positive pole, a negative pole, that is required in order to create the circuit. Both are required. When one requirement is taken in consideration and the other requirement is not taken in consideration, then you have a conflicting team. then you don't have anymore a good communication climate, then you don't have anymore a good appreciation of the responsibility of others, then you cannot really have a good working team built on trust. You cannot have a participatory approach. If you cannot have a participatory approach, you cannot reframe the project properly as things happen, and you fail. You fail because when there is no communication climate within the team, then you cannot have a good product, you cannot have a good impact. In fact, when we talk about environment, we should take the word environment at a very different level. There is the environment outside, that is nature, which is never really outside because we are also part of nature. Even our body is a part of nature. That's why we are coming now here in the nature, because we feel a part of nature. So, but in the sense that is the environment of the society. I mean, so it's external to the society, is nature, but it's for the society is the environment. For us, individual beings, groups are the core, and society is our environment. So for us, individual beings, our group is our working environment. So there is a different kind of ecology, of starting from the ecology of personal relationship within yourself, between your intellectual aspect, between your physical aspect, between your mental aspect, between your emotional aspect. There is an ecology within the person. That ecology within the person affects the ecology of working relationship and friendship relationship within the group. That ecology of the group affects the way you work. That ecology of the work affects the society. And finally, the ecology of the social relationship affects the environment. That is why international cooperation is so important, because nations are not built, I mean, even if you put walls, even if you put police to check, wind moves, good moves, ideas move, environmental challenges move. You cannot put borders in that. So it's anyway our common environment, both in the sense of an environment of peace or conflict, an environment of good relationship with nature or damage with nature. There is an ecological balance at all levels. So if we don't learn as countries to cooperate and to understand each other, we will have a negative ecology, negative international relationship, a negative ecology of nations, a negative ecology of civilization. That will have a wrong impact both on our own civilization, because we live in a common environment, we learn from each other, and on natural environment. So the various kind of ecology, from the internal ecology to the global ecology, there are never strong barriers between it, but it's a constant flux, a constant movement, a constant process. Going back to the idea of communication, you know, when I teach the student, I say, you see, when are you really communicating well? When you are saying something that it's what you say, it's your idea, but you are learning from yourself because you didn't think that before. You are thinking that because that relationship that you are having with the other person, that communication you are having with the other person, is inspiring you to know what you think. So we learn from what we say something that we didn't know it before, but we are learning from the occasion of communication. So that is really the creative communication. Not only when I'm learning from you, but when I'm learning what I am because I communicate to you.
Yeah. The communication allows or enables and requires expression.
Yes.
So then it makes you aware. Once you express it, you become aware of maybe what beliefs you've held and
Yes.
what
What we believe.
ideas
So it's not that first we believe and then we communicate. Certain things, yes. But when we communicate, we learn what we believe. Then is really the good communication climate. So we learn what we believe when we are in a good communication climate, and so we feel that we are able to express what we believe. And before expressing it, we didn't know exactly what we believe. We had some general ideas, but it gets articulated in the expression with the others. So we have 1 month now to make sure that we can arrive at the end of the month, less than 1 month now, in fact, that with all things in order. That means that all the bills have been prepared so that Ahad can send, probably within the next 10, 15 days maximum, the sooner the better, the expense claim, what we call it. You know that Women's Society, there is an agreement between Women's Society and Legambiente to implement the project. So there was some money given as advance. And whenever Women's Society sends the expenses already done by Women's Society with the reports and the timesheets, Legambiente sends the money to Women's Society. This system didn't function so well because there were delays on the side of Legambiente to clear the bill in time. So Ahad would have sent the money that should have been sent within a month, and sometimes they take 3, 4, 5 months to send. So Women's Society is obliged to start working and start paying, demonstrating to pay the people before sending the other money. So that stopped the flow, which complicated it. And sometimes the bills were sent, the expenses were sent without proper justifications of how the things had been spent. So the flow has been sometimes with hiccups. But otherwise the flow has worked. So we are arriving at the end of the project where actually still quite a good deal of money results as not spent. That means if we don't demonstrate the expenses within the end of this month, the expenses cannot be claimed later on. Maybe something can be claimed with previous bills, but it becomes complicated. So for us it's important that the claims are done within the time limit. The sooner the better. So that's what I need to do, is to verify that there are the reports, and the reports indicate the effort, and the bills match with the effort. I need to do that, only that. As I always said, I will not go into the quality of the outputs because there is not much time. Something may be very indicating, but whenever there is not the expected quality of the output, then has to be explanation, reasons for it. One good thing of the EU project is that they know their experiment. They know that are not business approach projects. So they may find difficulties. They have challenges. They may do mistakes. It's acceptable. Provided we learn from the mistakes. Provided we understand what went wrong and what did we learn from our mistakes. Once the knowledge resources are provided, they are given to the Italian partner in charge of putting them online. And then we have this knowledge management system ready, which now it's not ready because it lacks the contribution from the Iranian partners. And we always wanted to say in the project that if we launch a course, we should launch it as something produced by Iranians with the help of Italians, not produced by the Italians where the Iranians are just the learners. So since we don't have this knowledge resources from the Iranian side, we haven't yet launched it publicly. Once we have it, not many, doesn't matter, few, explain why, but we have it, then one work of Women's Society, very simple but very important, is to announce it. This knowledge management system now is available. People can, you give a small page of instruction how you can avail, how can use it, and you launch it publicly. This is very important because all the activities that we've done, we're not done for the benefit of ourselves. We're done for benefiting the overall context, the Iranian context. So we need to share what we learned so that other people can get profit of what we learned. So launching the distance learning platform within the end of the project is vital. Otherwise, we fail to achieve one of the main objectives. So that means we all put the money for ourselves as teachers, but we didn't teach anyone. We teach our teachers, so we train internally, but we didn't teach the public. But in the project, we said that we're going to teach the public. So if we don't teach, if we do a distance learning portal, we said we put on the resources that the public will continue to use in the next years. So we didn't teach much during the project, but we put up a system where people will be able to continue to learn, which is the objective of our project.